All right, welcome back to Irela's Aquarium Corner. Today we're talking about hardware, filters, heaters, CO2. Not very glamorous, but kind of necessary. Let's start with the filters. And let's start with sponge filters. The absolute simplest form of filter there is. They really do just require three things: the filter, an air pump, air hose. That's it. They function via the bubbles just rising up, creating flow, and sucking water into the filter. Positives. They're super simple. That's it. It's just this. They've got great surface area, great biological filtration. Not really much to go wrong with them. That's their big positive, is its super simplicity. The downsides, though, to me, they kind of outweigh it. It's why I only have the one, and it's only in this tank. Downsides are it's terrible particulate filtration. Just terrible. If you've got like a little bit of dirt in the water, a little bit of murkiness, it's not going to be able to keep your tank clean. And the second downside is the bubbles. They pop against the surface of the water. And you see I've got that little bubble catcher there. Without that bubble catcher, this light, the underside of this light would be dripping wet. The bubbles would come out here, pop on the surface of the water, and everything in this area would be wet. If you look on the back of the wall there, see that dirt on the back of the wall? That's from the bubbles popping before I put that bubble catcher on there. And you're thinking, oh, well, that's just if you have an open top tank. What if you have a lid on your tank? Yeah, then your glass lid will be absolutely covered in mineral stains, in calcium deposits and buildup. So I don't like bubblers. I don't like anything that creates bubbles on the surface of the water, because those little popping bubble doesn't seem like much. Just a little drip of water. That adds up. That adds up real quick over, hours and days and months and weeks to kind of make a mess. So it's kind of the reason why I only have the one. Well, actually, no, the real reason I only have one sponge filter. They're ugly. That's it. They're ugly. I go through a lot of work to making these tanks nice and pretty looking. Why do I want some big ugly sponge filter in it? And their simplicity doesn't make up for it for me. I'm just using it in this tank just because this is my simple little tank. It's just my hospital quarantine tank when I need to. But anyway, so yeah, if you like the simplicity, yeah, if for a first timer, you go for a sponge filter. They really are simple. And another pro is if you have multiple tanks or for some reason want multiple filters, you just get one air pump and just split the water off and the air. You can just split the air off and have multiple sponge filters running off one pump. So cool. What I would really recommend, and what I think is the best, hang-on back filters. The hang-on back filter is just the jack of all trades. It can do everything. Yeah, pros. You can get them as big as you want. You can have as much biological filtration as you want. You can have as much particulate filtration as you want. You can customize these to do whatever you need them to do. See, this thing, it just came with that little bag of gravel. And it didn't even come with this filter, this big mat here. I put that in the front to really get a lot of particulate filtration going on. But you can just fix these up however you want. You just fill this tub up with anything you want. You want more particulate filtration, you just get a better filter floss. You want more biological filtration, you put more rocks in it. They're great. I think this is the thing to go for every tank, every beginner. It's the golden standard for me. However, there are some things to be aware of and to be very mindful of. Oops, sorry. They're not all made equal. Now, this particular filter, you can't really see it because I have a net around it. You can see a shrimp right there on the filter. That net's exactly for that. It's to keep the filter shrimp safe. So they can suck stuff up, and almost all of them can be made shrimp safe. But inside that net is the motor. This has an in the tank submersed motor. This to me is the best for two reasons. First off, it's basically infallible. A lot of these things, a lot of these filters, when the power goes out, they can lose siphon. Here, let me show you. I have it sitting right here. This one, when it's hanging on the tank, the filter here, the pump right here on the bottom, is outside the tank, outside the water. So when you start this up, you have to put water in here to fill it up, to prime the suction. And if the power goes out for any reason, sometimes these can drain out. These can come empty. So when the power comes back on, the pump won't restart. But with the motor inside the tank style, this has none of those problems. This is always 100% reliable, as long as you're not letting it completely plug up, you know. But it's never really given me a problem. And the second reason why motor on the inside in the water is better, it's quieter. Yeah, can't really hear much of anything. Yeah, this is, if you're starting the hobby, just get a hang-on back filter. They come in all sizes, all shapes. It's just be mindful of the details. They're gonna try and sell you replacement parts and all this stuff, new filter cartridges. Forget it. Just whatever filter your hang-on back filter comes with, throw it out. Just throw it out and just buy a roll of filter floss. This filter floss was just a big roll, and I just cut a chunk out and put it in here. And some of them have like a wheel heel. They call them a bio wheel. Woo! Forget it. It's a gimmick. They always break. They don't add any surface area. Really, not in any appreciable amount. So you do kind of have to hunt for like what I consider to be the best, or you know, this style. Motor in the water, a good sized area back here to hold lots of stuff, whatever you want, and no weird gimmicks like the weird wheel, the little paddle wheel. I think it's silly. So the third type of filter. Canister filters. So, the benefits of a canister filter. There are none. There is no practical reason to use a canister filter over a hang-on back filter. There's only one reason to ever use a canister filter, and that is they have no footprint inside the tank. There's nothing inside this tank from the canister filter. You just have the input, which is kind of hidden back here. I have a big screen over it because, again, shrimp, you know. And the output, which is not really that big. Like, you step back here, it's not something that really draws the eye very much. It's the only reason you ever use a canister filter, is just so that you don't have stuff in the water, you know. They're fine. Okay, I guess their one good thing is they're very big, relatively speaking. They hold a lot of material. They have a big sponge in them, so they have all the surface area of a sponge filter. They have all the particulate filtration of a hang-on back filter. They have all the biological filtration of bags of rocks that are in your hang-on back filter. But they have the risk of, if it leaks, it drains your entire tank out on the floor. Yeah, so if you're starting out, don't bother with canister filters. Just get a hang-on back filter. Really, like, I started with the sponge filters. I found them irritating. I got the hang-on back filters. They're the gold standard for me. And then I just got the canister filter, mostly because where I put my tank, I don't have room on the back. So that's bad planning on my part. I suppose I could have smushed one in on the side here, like I did that one. But in the end, I just went with the canister filter just because it works best for me. But it's low on my recommendations. I think that's all I have to say about filtration. Well, let's see. Yeah. Oh, no, one more. A lot of canister filters have skimmers on them. Now, actually, I'm glad I didn't forget this because this is really important. This skimmer's on the output, and it just uses a simple Venturi effect to just suck in surface scum. Let's see if I can see the surface scum on the surface of the water. Can you see that scum on the surface of the water? Yeah, there we go. That's not oil. they call it a protein slick. I'm not really sure what it's about. But this, it just sucks the surface of the water off and reincorporates the slick back into the water. And you might think that's not enough. Like, you'd want to remove it. No, it actually, there's no surface scum on this tank. And all it is this just sucks the surface off the water here, skims the surface off, and reincorporates it. Doesn't suck it out of the tank, doesn't remove it, just mixes it in. It's very important, I think, to have this type on the output. I had one of these on the input. The water would come in through the bottom. You'd have to kind of restrict it in just the right way so that this top would just float on the surface and suck in a little bit of water. Big problem with these, huge problem. First off, this is not shrimp safe. This is not little baby fish safe. If you've got guppies, those baby guppies are absolutely 100% going to get too close to this and get sucked into that. Then they're down in your filter and they're dead. And you have dead, rotting fish inside your filter. Second off, I just found these finicky as hell. These holes are not big enough. You see, I actually took a grinder and I ground out some of the holes to make slots just to improve the water flow. Well, a little bit of algae grows on this. A leaf, just a single leaf from any of my multitude of plants, detaches and attaches and clogs up this thing, and now it's sucking air. Sucking air through the skimmer part. And if it does that too long, it's going to kill the motor on your canister filter. Too much air in the canister filter and it stops running. And then so you just killed, a couple $100 worth of canister filter. And depending on how dependent your tank is on filtration, this has the potential to kill your entire tank. Don't use these. Maybe you've had a success with them. Maybe, if you got bigger fish, then you don't have to worry about sucking up fish. If you don't have any shrimp, don't have to worry about sucking up shrimp. But to me, just the fact that if this gets a little bit plugged and you're not paying attention, and this starts sucking air, which happened all the time for me, this has the potential to kill your tank. Don't use those. That's my take on it. Okay. Big dramatic stuff out of the way. Okay, simple stuff. Let's talk about heaters. Really not much to say about a heater. There's just one little thing I can say about it, which is just simply just a cautionary tale. Don't buy the cheapest, smallest ones. I think they're like, I don't know, I only knew them as a Petco brand, but they have these really, really, really cheap ones which don't have thermostats on them. They're just always on, which is terrible. Because let's say it's, super hot summer day. It's boiling outside. You're just dying from overheating. And the heater in your tank is still running, still heating the temperature up. Nah, don't do that. Don't buy the cheapest. Okay, I'm gonna actually say that for nearly every form of equipment in the aquarium hobby. Don't ever buy the absolute cheapest. But other than that, it's a heater. Just as long as you can adjust the temperature, as long as it has a knob or some method of adjusting the temperature. They're never accurate, by the way. If they'll say, it goes up to 70, put it at 75 degrees. Nah. No, put it at some arbitrary setting, check the temperature, adjust from there. They're never accurate. But as long as they have a thermostat that allows them to turn off and on and off, that's the important part. And it's shocking to me that I even have to mention it because, some of them don't actually have thermostats on them, which are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right. And, okay, let's talk about CO2. Oh, let me get some lighting in here. Carbon dioxide. Oop, my bubble counters are a little low. So this was the one that took me the longest time to embrace. If you got a planted tank, it does make a difference. It really does. It makes... I like to joke that the good part of a CO2 is it makes the plants grow faster, and the bad part of CO2 is it makes the plants grow faster. So more pruning, more taking care of it. You see all these bubbles, you see all of this Sprite in the water. Carbon dioxide. It makes the red plants redder. It makes the green plants greener. It just makes everything grow better and faster and healthier. The downsides are if you're not good at what you're doing, if you're not really paying attention, you can put too much in the water and fish can't breathe CO2. And I've heard some horror stories of killing your tanks. People putting the CO2 on too high and the carbon dioxide building up in the water and suffocating all your fish and just killing every animal in the tank. And I'm like, that was scary. That was a really scary idea to ever overcome. I was really hesitant about CO2 for the longest time, but it really came down to just be gentle with it. You don't want this gurgling, bubbling, huge stream of CO2. Just start out slow and slowly creep on it. So there's two things that are very important with the CO2 to remember. The first is don't skip on the regulator. This is a 2-stage regulator. That one shows the pressure inside the tank. That one shows the output. Actually, that's the same argument I gave. That same recommendation I gave for everything else. Don't buy the cheap ones. I think this is like a $150 regulator. Yeah, expensive, but it works. And it came with 2 of these, and you can buy additions. And I have that 4th tank over there. I might buy another one of these, so I can put some CO2 in that little 5-gallon. I haven't decided yet. And the second thing about safety of CO2 is, that's a camera droppers. CO2 drop checkers, I think are what they're called. Inside the bulb there is a CO2 reactant fluid that if it's got a correct amount of CO2 in the water, it turns green. And look, it's green. If there's not enough, it's a bright blue. And if there's too much, it's yellow. Thing to know about this only tells you what the CO2 was like an hour or 2 ago, because it takes time for the reaction to happen. But yeah, good quality regulator, drop checkers. And you will, if you're really gentle with it and you make slow, methodical adjustments, then CO2 can absolutely be totally safe and really, really helpful for your plant. Like, for instance, see, he's a little more orange, pink. A lot of orange in him, pink, a bit of red. Now let's go over to a tank that doesn't have any CO2. He's green. No CO2 in this tank. This plant is green without CO2. I love CO2. I really do. I want it in this tank as well. But being this is just my little hospital tank, I'm not sure if I will. All right, let's see. I think that's a bit... Oh, right. Okay. You probably all noticed it from the beginning, so let's talk about the cage. Why do I have a cage? A fence. Why do I have a fence around my tank? Well, I don't want to put a lid on my tanks. I want to be able to just walk up to my tanks and just look down into the water and see my fish like this. I want to be able to just stick my hands in the water whenever I want. Yeah, it's not the smartest thing. I've definitely lost fish. I've lost quite a number of guppies. Not much of a loss to me. Quite a lot of shrimp. Like, I've lost so many of my little red cherry shrimp. I don't know why they're so enjoying climbing out of my tank. But the fence. Why the fence? It's for these guys. The snails. These are specifically Nerite snails. They are very adventurous. And don't worry about her. I know she looks dead. She's actually not. She's alive. She's been like that for like 3 months. I don't know why. Well, I mean, I do know why, but I don't know how to fix it. The Nerite snails, I think, are native to like mangrove swamps. So they're used to spending like half their life out of water, and they will just climb up out of the tank. And they would like to go back into the water, but then they get confused and they end up climbing out the outside of the tank. So the fence is there to keep them in. It's mostly successful. I've had a few of them actually find them going into the hang-on back filter and come out of the back of the hang-on back filter. So I have lost a few. But before I put the little fence on my tanks, I was losing Nerite snails left and right all the time. Let's see. Okay. And then finally, I think this is the last thing to talk about, lights. Bright. I don't actually have much to say about them as far as what to use, what not to use. If you have enough light on your tank, yeah, that's it. Just have enough light. It's like, well, what's enough? I can't tell you. It's going to have to look that whatever you think looks good. You want your tank to be pretty bright, but you can absolutely just use a couple of these. And this will work. You know, 2 or 3, you know, like for my 20-gallon, yeah, 2 of these. 2 just regular, I mean, these are just LED bulbs, you know, regular in the ceiling around the house kind of bulbs. A couple of these on that tank would work just fine. 1 of these on that tank would work just fine. I like these, obviously, these are proper aquarium lights. Long lights, they've got all these different colors that are supposedly about, oh, the different spectrums of light and know what's more like sunlight. I don't know. I just know my plants like it, and I like it, and it looks good. So I don't have any brand recommendations about lights. They're just a thing that exists. It's kind of just how I feel about it. I think that's about all I can talk about for hardware right now. Hope it was helpful to you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.